What's going on, everybody? It's Kanye. Today's video, we're going to be continuing the best Pro-Am build series, and today we're going to do the power forwards. So like I have in the other several videos, I'm going to be giving you 3 different power forward options, and I'll kind of explain how they're going to play with the other builds that we've went over so far. So obviously we've done point guard, shooting guard, small forwards. If you haven't seen that yet, at the end of the video, I'm going to have the playlist link that has all 3 of those videos in it. So if you want to go back and watch those so you can kind of get an idea for what we're doing, absolutely do that. I'm going to reference different builds from the point guard, shooting guard, and small forward videos in terms of what power forward to use on your Pro-Am team. So, you know, that'd be a good reference. I recommend you go watch those. But that being said, before we get started, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. I hope y'all are enjoying the content. I'm having fun making it. Let's get started. So obviously we're making a power forward today. The first pie chart I'd recommend, again, one of my favorite pie charts in the game, is the more green than red. Now, if you remember watching the small forward and shooting guard videos, I use this pie chart and I explain that making this build at the shooting guard can help with the badge count in certain ways. The thing is, right, if you make this build at the shooting guard, you're maxing out all the perimeter defensive stats. Whereas if we're making it at the power forward like we are today, we're going to max out all the interior defensive stats. So that's what kind of gives them a different vibe. You can go speed invert here at pure speed. Personally, if you're going to be corner of the zone, if you are going to be helping with boards, you might go speed invert, but we'll go ahead and go pure speed for now. Either one, they're really interchangeable. But first things first, going to max our close shot, max our driving layup, max our driving dunk. Going to max our mid-range shot, 3-point shot, and free throw. Going to max our pass act and ball handle and post control all the way. Then we're going to max our interior defense, max our defensive rebound, max our block, max our lateral quickness, max our steal, and throw the last 12 on offensive rebound. Now, the reason I didn't max out our offensive rebound is because on offense, if you're a shooter in a 5-out situation, you know, you're not going to be taking a lot of shots. It's also the same reason I end up the standing dunk. Since this build is playing the 4, you know, you're not going to be in the paint a lot, especially in a Pro-Am style offense. You typically have 4 out, if not 5 out, and the only guy in the paint is either your point guard off attacks to the rim out of ISO play, or your center who's a finisher. So I would recommend at the 4 spot always having a shooter. That's why, you know, we only have the driving stuff on. So just in case your man overplays, you can drive to the rim and finish. But also, you know, it's not a necessity. Along with that, since you're playing the corner of the zone, you don't really need perimeter defense because you're guarding a man in the corner. It's pretty straight up. That being said, if you switch to a 3-2, you need to be able to guard the paint. So that's why we have the interior defense. We also have the lateral quickness and the steal to pick off passes and shift around the defense effectively. We've also got the block rating and the defensive rebound rating to help assist our center on the boards defensively. And also, if our center gets drug out on a rotation, we can block shots inside as well. In terms of the badge layout, we've got 1 19 10 19. Now, clearly we could, you know, max our post fed, get more shooting badges, or upgrade our offensive rebound or perimeter defense and get more defensive badges. But this is how I'd recommend laying it out. If you have an extra badge from reaching level 40 in some of the past seasons, I recommend at least throwing 1 on finishing so you can get silver limitless takeoff. It's going to boost your animations. But overall, this is how I would lay out the attributes. We're going to have a 49 badge build, so that's pretty good. For body type, it doesn't really matter. Just go ahead and go in the middle. We'll go to find. Now, in terms of height, you could go 6'7". Now you're going to tank your block, tank your defensive rebound, tank your interior defense, but you're going to up your lateral quickness and your steal. Personally, I think 6'8" is a really good height. You're going to break the 80 threshold on your shooting. You're not going to completely, you know, tank your interior stuff. So I'll go around 6'8". Weight, we're going to minimize it because we want that speed. Just for, you know, moving around the court. Again, if you don't want to completely minimize it out, you can leave it to where your interior defense is around a 70. That's fine. But me personally, speed is more essential, especially in the corner of a zone if you're doing rotation. So I'd go ahead and minimize that weight. And then you have a couple options. So you can max your wingspan out, have an 85 block, 86 defensive rebound, and really help out inside. You do knock down your 3-point shot to a 77, but fear not, you can green all day with that. Or you can leave it where it's at. You still have good defensive stats. And we're going to be able to shoot a little bit better. Really, either one is fine. That's going to come down to personal preference. Personally, though, I'm going to recommend that you max it out because 77 3-ball, you can green with that. It's not that hard, especially if you've got all your badges and you got a guy passing to you and you're just getting hit when you're open. So now we look at our physicals. Having moved all our physicals around, we're going to have a +4 to all of our attributes at 99. So we've got a 90 close shot, 72 driving layup, 76 driving dunk, solid finishing stats. We're going to have an 83 mid-range, 81 3-ball, which you can hit that all day long. Playmaking, have 76 pass act, so we can pass the ball relatively well. And we're going to be able to handle the ball good enough to where if we need to drive, we'll be okay. And then defensive and rebounding, you're going to have a 69 interior defense. Again, you don't have to minimize your weight. You could up it a little bit to get that closer to the 70s. Lateral quickness is going to have an 81. Steal, we're going to have an 81, 89 block, and a 90 defensive rebound. So playing that corner position in the zone, we're going to be really, really effective because we're going to be able to move laterally, do our rotations quickly. We're going to be able to steal the ball, on-ball defense-wise and off of passes, and we're going to be able to help protect the rim in case we switch into a 3-2 out of our 2-3. We're going to be able to protect the rim quite well. In terms of physicals, we've got a +8 for hitting 99 and getting our Gatorade boost. So we got an 89 speed on a 6'8 build, which is great. We're going to have an 86 acceleration, and we're going to have a 72 vertical. Now, an 89 speed is quite a lot. So what you could do is go do the speed and vertical pie chart. If you think you're going to be playing a 3-2 more, I'd recommend the speed and vertical pie chart just for rebounding and defensive purposes. You're going to lose a little bit of speed, but your vertical will go up, and you'll be able to guard the paint a little bit easier and grab more rebounds. So just note that. For our takeover options, we've got slashing take, rebounding take, rim protector take, sharpshooting take. Since this is a comp setting and you're not guarding the rim, I wouldn't go with either one of these. This is where the 2-guard and small forward builds have an advantage because you can get lock take, so you can play that corner of the zone more effectively. Now, if you are in a 3-2 and you're playing the bottom, one of these two takeovers is what I'd recommend. But since I run typically a 2-3, I'm going to go with sharp take just to boost my shooting more, make me more of a threat. And then, even on sharp take, if they're guarding me tighter, someone else is more likely to get open. And so, having done so, you're going to see we've made a stretch facilitator. So kind of fun, right? We've kind of made a sleeper build that we can run with in the pro-am. They're going to think this is a green-yellow. It's going to give you an advantage when you can lock down defensively because they may try to attack your side of the zone initially thinking, this guy's not a defensive player, but in reality you are. So just note that. That's another perk. But overall, this is a great all-around build. But now what I want to do is I want to go back real quick and show you some other options you have in terms of if you don't necessarily want to be a 3-and-D power forward in the corner, because truthfully, as a corner defender, you don't necessarily need to have defense in your pie chart. Now, if you're going to run a 3-2, I recommend it as your power forward having defense in your pie chart. But if you're running a 2-3 like a lot of people do, or even in man, you don't necessarily need a defensive pie chart. So if you're not going to go with that, what I would recommend doing is looking at either the even green-yellow or the more green than yellow. I would go with the even green-yellow. And the reason I'm advising this pie chart is because what you can do with this now is you can have floor general on your power forward build, and that way all of your teammates are getting boosted for their shots, and you're already a good enough shooter that you don't necessarily need that boost for yourself. So you're going to save playmaking badges for your point guard. Your point guard wouldn't need to put on floor general now if he's got a power forward with it. So how I would lay this out is I would go like this. And we're going to max out our interior defense. We're going to max out the defensive stats pretty much the same way we maxed out the defensive stats for the other one. So you're going to see here we've got 1 finishing, 18 shooting, 23 playmaking, 8 defensive rebounding badges. Now, if you don't feel like you need 23 playmaking, you don't have to put them on there. You could easily just use 13 because realistically, you're not going to be handling the ball in any situation here as the power forward, right? You're strictly using the playmaking ability to get floor general for your teammates. So you don't even have to max out your post control. You can max out your offensive rebound and your perimeter defense to get you 11 defensive rebounding badges. Now, would I recommend that? No, because you don't want to limit your badge count. The more badges, the better. But not only that, like perimeter defense and offensive rebound aren't necessarily essentials in this situation because you're playing the corner of the zone. Now, if you're in a 3-2, maybe go low on the playmaking badges, and you can upgrade this to where you get your 11 defensive badges. But as it stands, how I would lay it out is how we had it initially, which was maxing out the playmaking. So 118, 23, 8. What does that put us at? Let's see. 50 badges. So we got 50 badges, one more than the last build. You're going to see the attributes are somewhat similar from a shooting perspective, but let's go ahead and edit the size. On this build, again, I said I would only use this in a 2-3 setting, not in a 3-2 setting, so we can go 6-7. It's less versatile defensively, so if you're going to bring this build, make sure you're running a 2-3. I would definitely minimize the weight. And then in terms of wingspan, you can max it out. The one thing I would say is I wouldn't, because if you keep your wingspan at an 86 or below, you have a 76 ball handle. Therefore, at a 99 overall, you got an 80. So even though this build's technically not there to function as a secondary ball handler, it absolutely can. And again, like the point forward build and the small forward build video I showed you, that build can function as a secondary ball handler, and this is kind of another substitute for that. This build, again, the primary purpose is that you can give everyone else on the team a playmaking boost using floor general, but then, you know, you can add the threat of having the 80 ball handle if you want. If you max out the wingspan, we do up the steal, block, and rebound by a little bit, but not enough to sacrifice those dribbling animations. What I would say is 86 is your best, because now if we look at our attributes, at a 99, you got an 88 close shot, 78 driving layup. You'll have a 70 driving dunk, which will get you some decent animations. We're going to have an 87 mid-range, 85 three ball, which is going to be more than enough. You're going to be able to green all day long. We're going to have an 89 pass hack, 80 ball handle. And then we're going to have, you know, a 77 lateral quickness, a 76 steal, and a 75 defensive rebound. One thing I will say is, if we go back here, and this might be something that you might do differently, from a badge perspective, we do lose a badge if we go perimeter defense over interior defense, which is kind of why I'm against it. That being said, the reason I'm doing this is because if we go 6'7", you're going to notice our perimeter defense gets quite a bit of a boost. So even though we're sacrificing one badge, having that boost on our perimeter defense stat is worth it. So now we have a 77 perimeter defense. On top of that, everything else stayed the same. From a physical perspective, +8 for 99 in Gatorade. We got a 91 speed, a 89 acceleration, and we've got a 71 vertical. Again, very good stats. This build, I would stay with the pure speed because you're not going to be much of a finisher. But offensively, this build can play a lot like the first build, the stretch facility. It's going to play a lot like that in terms of it can spot up, it can attack the rim if it needs to. But from a spot up perspective, it's going to play very similar, can shoot a little bit better. But then the added, offensive effect is that you can now handle the ball a lot better. You could possibly even run the one to mix up possessions, especially if you've got an advantage on the other team's power forward. Along with that, though, we also have, the boosted playmaking badges and the floor general for the rest of your team, and saving your point guard playmaking badges. This build, I'd recommend every other build on the team be defensively minded. You don't want more than one non-defensive minded build on the court at a time. Now, let me rephrase that, because I think you could have this and a play shot on the court at the same time. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but you could do it. You just don't want both corners being weak on defense or both tops being weak on defense in a 2-3. So just take that how you would, but this is how I would lay this out. Now, for our takeover options, you're going to have an 85 3 ball. You don't need sharp take. Again, you could use it. Slash take doesn't make any sense. Shot creator take is the worst take. Playmaking take, though, again, if you want to run the one some on this, you could absolutely use playmaking take. It might throw some people off and, give your point guard a break just in case, he's getting covered heavy. Again, if you have the point forward, don't use this build. If you don't have the point forward, this is definitely a great option. I'm going to go with playmaking take. And so you're going to see here, we've made a mid-range playmaker. This build, it's kind of not to use the term jack of all trades because that's a build of its own, but the mid-range playmaker can usually, catch people off guard because it can do a little bit of everything, and that's what this build can do. So, if you want a more offensive-minded build, a build that can help, play make, go with the mid-range playmaker. Now, big drop-off defensively. So if your other corner is weak defensively, don't make this build. You want to have at least one strong corner defender. But for our last build, now typically what I've been doing is I've been showing you 2 shooting builds and 1 finishing build at each position. One thing I will say about the power forward position is I would not recommend making a finishing power forward, just because if you make a finishing power forward, you're going to need a shooting center. And shooting center builds have significantly worse badge counts than shooting power forward builds. Now, you could just take one of the center builds and make it at the power forward and adjust the height and weight to match the way you would make it as a center. But that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is just show different positions. So the last build I'm going to show you at the power forward spot is actually going to be an even blue-green. Again, this build can finish, but it still has the ability to shoot, and that's why we're doing it. We're going to go with the speed invert because we are going to be more of a finisher on this build. We're going to max close shot, driving layup, driving dunk. Going to max mid-range, three-point shot, and free throw. Going to max pass act, ball handle, and post control. We're going to up post control all the way for now. We may adjust that. Max your defensive rebound, max your block, max your steal, max your lateral quickness, max your perimeter defense. Throw the last 5 on offensive rebound. And you're going to see here we got 11, 15, 17, 6. If you want fewer playmaking badges, more finishing badges, by all means, knock down the post control and up the standing dunk. Get yourself some more finishing badges. But what we're going to see here is that we've made a build that has, let's see, 12, 18, 19, 49. So 49 badges. So all 3 of our power forward builds have had 49, 50, and 49 badges. So all really similar in a badge count. Very different spreads though. Physically, still go to fine. We're going to go down to 6'7" on this build as well because we want the 3 ball to be as high as it can. We're going to minimize our weight. And for the wingspan, I would take it to 88. Actually, no, I'd take it to 87. The reason I take it to 87, because you want to have an 80 driving dunk, so at 99 overall, you get contacts. Technically, actually, go to 88. Don't go to 89 because you're going to lose on your 3 ball. So 88 wingspan. When we look here at the attributes at 99 overall, you're going to have a 96 close shot, 84 driving layup, 84 driving dunk, so you get contacts. You're going to have an 80 mid-range, 78 3 ball, so you can green on that all day long. 79 pass act, 74 ball handle. You can get really good dribble animations with just a 70 overall ball handle, so that's pretty good. So, you know, you can still handle the ball a little bit. Going to be kind of like the first build we made, the stretch facility, in terms of handling the ball. And defensively, we're going to have a 77 perimeter defense, 76 lateral quickness, 78 steal, 74 defensive rebound, 69 block. So we're an average defender, again, very similar to the mid-range playmaker defensively. We're going to be able to defend the corner well enough. We're quick, you know. We've got the good physicals because we got a +8 on all that with the 99 in Gatorade. So we've got an 86 speed, 84 acceleration, and a 90 vertical. So this build actually can help down low. With the 90 vertical, you're going to be able to rebound quite well. Not to mention, though, with the high speed ratings, you're going to be able to rotate well. So even if we have lower defensive stat ratings, we can still rotate well and play good defense. The nice part about this is that you add the finishing ability, so it makes you a little bit more of a complex scorer on the offensive side of the ball. You know, the other 2 builds are mostly spot-up shooters. With the mid-range player being able to run the one a little bit, but still at the end of the day, they're both shooting builds. This build can finish and shoot, so it'll make you more of a complex scorer. It'll provide, that more of an offensive threat perspective at least one position on the court. You've seen I've made blue-green builds at the other positions as well. Specifically, the 2-guard one was one of the more big ones that I talked about. I wouldn't recommend having more than one blue-green on the court, but I would recommend if you have one build outside of your play shot, that isn't a defensive build, I would recommend it being a blue-green just because you want that scoring complexity. You want a guy that can ISO for himself and get buckets. The reason I like the 2-guard blue-green better is because you have the better dribble animations. You're going to be a better ISO player. That being said, though, at this position, going against power forwards, you have enough in your bag to ISO power forwards, so that is a plus. Again, though, overall, it's good to have a build like this that can score inside and out, just to add, an extra threat level on offense. In terms of our takeovers, so we can get playmaking take on this build as well, which is kind of unique. Again, this would add, that layer. I would not recommend it since you don't have good dribble moves. I would never recommend running the one, especially in a comp setting. I wouldn't recommend it in a rec setting on this build. For slashing and sharp take, though, your shooting ability is lower than the other 2, so I'd go with sharp take. Having slashing take, you do get the elite contact dunks while on slashing take on this build, but sharp take I think is our best interest because we have a lower 3 ball than the other 2 builds. In this final build, you're going to see we've made a mid-range maestro. Now, very unique build name, very cool build name. This is definitely a rare build, and I don't purposely try to incorporate rare build names, especially in this Pro-Am series. I'm trying to bring you all good comp builds, but we've just so happened to run into a sleeper build with the stretch facility and then a mid-range playmaker, mid-range maestro. Just some really cool build names. So this is what I would recommend you do in terms of a power forward build for Pro-Am. If you want to have a good all-around scorer, go with the mid-range maestro. If you want to have a good secondary ball handler and a guy that can give your team floor general boosts, go with the mid-range playmaker. And if you want a guy that can play lockdown defense, can play the zone effectively in both a 3-2 and a 2-3, can guard all 5 positions, and can shoot the ball exceptionally well, I'd go with the stretch facil. The stretch facil would be my preferred one just because I think defensive builds are the best in Pro-Am, just because, that's just how it is. But again, all these builds are definitely viable. If y'all enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to drop a comment. Let me know if you've tried any of these builds out or have any of these builds yourself. And if you haven't heard of this mid-range Maestro build, again, I've never made something like this until I was shooting this video. So let me know what you think of that. Definitely going to keep the content rolling. I appreciate all y'all's love and support, and I hope y'all have a good one. Peace.